Hi, and welcome to the Biohacking Collective YouTube channel. Today we have a special guest with us, a good friend of mine. His name is Mait, and I would characterize him as a modern-day alchemist and herbalist. Very pleased to have you here as a guest.
Thank you. So yeah, it's nice to be here. My name is Mait, and today we're going to be talking about herbs, alchemy, also the biohacking perspective of alchemy as well. So there's actually a lot of the things to cover. See how much we can cover today. But some really fascinating topics we're going to be diving into.
Yeah.
So Daniel here, my friend, he's been trying my products for quite some time now, and kind of liking them. So they're very handmade, small batches, and it's a lot of thoughts and thinking, and a lot of good research gone into this. So yeah. So Daniel, you can tell me, what kind of products have you tried from me?
Yeah, I started, of course, out with the CBD, the hemp oil.
Yeah.
And it's really good product. And then you started out with I think the big move was when you started with the spagyric extractions. And then you could really feel like that you are making something that is really special. And I think that's a little bit like the start of our relationship. And also I learned a lot from you about this, like the spagyric method and different type of herbs and what you can do with them. And I feel that you are like very passionate guy, and this is really amazing stuff. So, and it would be amazing also to hear a little bit and tell the audience about your story and how you ended up in this field.
Absolutely. Well, let's take it from the beginning. So, the hemp and CBD products was the start of my kind of extraction career in one sense, and it's been going on for a while. But the problem with hemp here in Sweden has been very much on and off with regulations. First you can do things and you cannot do things, and now it's all THC-free products and so on and so on. So it's been like hemp has been like a problem child in many senses. So we'll see where it's going to end up. It might change, it might be better, but at the moment it's a little bit hard to work with hemp in Sweden in a few ways. It's still doable, but it's kind of restrictive. So unfortunately. But anyway, so we hope for that. But in any case, so what happened was that I started a long time ago, just actually exploring myself, and it's actually trying to help myself because of ADHD problem, also some substance abuse and all this kind of stuff, just trying to get on right track, by myself. And then I had a history of, my parents were doctors and natural doctors and so on. So from there, I had always had the interest of, natural medicines and so on. But then I took a long detour, went down traveling and doing a lot of different stuff, and came back to it. And then basically just trying to help myself, basically just trying out everything on myself because I wanted to, become better, become more stable, more balanced, both physically, mentally, and spiritually, on all levels. And then it came the alchemy side, which was really much more was both practical in the lab, but also philosophical as well. So it's both ways. It's really interesting. But anyway, so what happened was that after the hemp, kind of was having problems, we started with, diving deep more into the alchemy side. And the alchemy side is very, very fascinating, but it's also a topic where it can be very hard because it's, it's a lot of mysticism. It's kind of, it's like, what is alchemy? What is not alchemy? And how does alchemy relate to chemistry and so on and so on? And there's so many different views and a lot of dogma and religious stuff, and so it's been it's hard to decipher. Yeah. And I was lucky. I found a really nice, good mentor, and his name is Avery Hopkins. And so he runs a place called Chemia Arts in the US, and I went to study with him. And he makes some really fascinating and deep kind of metallic alchemy, which is very profound. And I also like now myself developing my metallic alchemy. But yeah, so I think that, if you want to explore alchemy in one sense, you have to really find the right people to learn from. Otherwise, it can be quite hard to understand and, see what's going on. But in a sense, alchemy and chemistry, they go really hand in hand, in one sense. Some people say that they don't, but in my opinion, I think that they do. Yeah, because I think that chemistry in one sense is only the chemistry side is basically just, the matter itself, how matter works in one sense. But then if you take the alchemy, you still have the chemistry in the base, but you just basically see that, okay, everything is more alive. So you have a consciousness in the same realm. So you basically, alchemy is basically how consciousness relates to matter. Yeah. That's basically what alchemy is, in one sense. And then you can have all these philosophical discussions about it and so on, but it's actually just very straightforward. How does consciousness, which is everywhere, relate to matter, and how can we as alchemists basically stand in the middle and basically facilitate and help nature evolve so we can help ourselves? That's basically the view of it. So what happened was that we started exploring the spagyric realm of herbal alchemy. And the spagyric realm of herbal alchemy is basically where you start in alchemy before you go into metals, because metals are not as forgiving as herbal stuff, and you can end up killing yourself if you don't know what you're doing, which a lot of alchemists throughout the years have done. They have killed themselves and poisoned themselves and all this kind of stuff, which is not very nice. So you start with herbal alchemy, and you train there, and you make sure that you're very good at all the basic stuff with distillation and fermentation and calcination, all this kind of really basic stuff, and you do them until you're very, very proficient at them. And then after that, you can slowly work your way up into metallic alchemy. And I think that would be the best progress to do. And the spagyric side, as you know as well, that can make very powerful stuff, like really, really powerful stuff. And what it is really, in one sense, is that the spagyric realm, you see that because everything's live, everything actually follows fundamental principles of how things, basically like a code, a alchemical code, of how life actually, basically expresses itself here in the physical. And then you have the great old axiom, as above, so below, as above. And basically what that means is that you say that everything that is in the stars, everything that is non-physical, has a mirror or has a correlation with everything that is here. And also everything is here within the physical has a correlation with it, but it is non-physical. So basically it's only like a mirror of each other in one sense. So that's why also you see that astrology is very big in alchemy. So you see that in the stars you can see how different planets have different frequencies, and different frequencies can relate into different chakras in your body, and different glands and different structures in your body, organs, whatever. And then you can see that certain, for example, metals or herbal herbs and so on have the same frequency. And you can see, okay, this frequency, this is a solar herb, then you should basically work on the solar chakra. And then, a solar chakra, then you can see what kind of herbs and so on. And basically, then you have this code. You can see everything, how everything relates to each other. And this is the most fascinating stuff. Yeah. But anyway, to distill things down, because there's a lot of different things you can do. And if I will give you a distilled knowledge here, is that everything, according to alchemy, has three fundamental principles. So what is a fundamental principle? Something that is actually not changing, something that is never going to die and never going to change. That is a fundamental principle. It's like you strip off everything that you see, and whenever you have stripped it off, and then you have the last piece left, that is a fundamental principle. So you have the soul, and you have the mind, and you have the body. So the soul is the first fundamental principle. Second one is mind, and the third one is body, right? So basically what you say in alchemy is that you say that first of all you have the prima materia, the prime matter, which you can relate to chaos. And as chaos basically started to reflect upon itself, it basically created a mirror of itself and created soul. And then the soul, which is the actuating cause of everything that's happening here, has an inherent faculty or an inherent thing that it can do. And the soul can think. So then the mind is created by the soul because it can think. And then when this mind is structuring its thoughts, it creates reality. So your body is basically just a structured thought forms of your mind. And then your mind is basically an inherent faculty of your soul. That's how the alchemists see it. So that means that is the big picture, the macrocosm, I would say, and then you see like, okay, this is how it would work, in the universe in one sense. But then if you take it down distill it down into the, to the physical, you can see that everything that, everything in the universe that is physical has a soul, mind, and body. You can actually extract a soul, mind, and body out of everything. Doesn't matter if it's a metal or a mineral or a herb or a human or an animal, everything can produce a soul, mind, and body. Basically, that's how it is. And then you can ask yourself, okay, what is the soul and mind and body of the physical? Okay, so the soul is the essential oils of something. Could be essential oils that is fixed or volatile, depends what is essential oils. And everybody who has tried or smelled essential oils, they're very fragrant, they're terpene profiles, organic essence. And that is an essence, it's essence of something. Basically the personality of something. That's the soul.
Yeah.
And basically if you take a essential oil and then you distill it out from a plant, say that you do it from, say, rosemary. You make a rosemary essential oil. You do it through hydrodistillation, or you steam distill out the oil, and then you separate it from the water, and then you have a pure essential oil. This essential oil is basically volatile, so if you would leave it, it will basically fly away because it's volatile, right? It's actually very, very, very close to the spiritual realm or the non-physical realm, so it will fly away. But a essential oil that is pure will never, ever, ever go bad. It cannot go rancid. It cannot start to ferment. It will never go bad. It cannot get any mold. So it's basically immortal. Right? And that's why it's called a fundamental principle, because essential oil is immortal in its purest form. That's how you say it. But then that's basically the overview of it. Then there's many different aspects of the soul, the fixed and the volatile and all this kind of stuff, right? But in the general terms, essential oils are basically immortal because they won't go bad. And that's still the principle of soul. And then you have mind. So mind is the bridge between the soul and the physical. So the mind in the spirit, and also in the herbal realm would be that you basically you ferment something. So you ferment the plant, and what happens when you ferment the plant? You actually create alcohol. So alcohol is basically the mind, and you know yourself. If you drink a beer or if you drink alcohol, you become loose in your mind, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is, So the mind is the bridge between the soul and the physical, right? So you ferment and you create alcohol, and alcohol is a solvent. You can use alcohol as a solvent. You can, extract stuff with alcohol as one type of solvent. You can do it with vinegar. You can do it with many different types of solvents, right? But the alcohol is the most widely used solvent, organically wise, that you can use, and which we also use when we extract as well. We use mostly alcohol to extract plants. And then you have the third principle, which is the salts or the mineral salts of a certain plant. So if you take a plant and first you extract out the essential oils, and then you have the soul, and then you take the leftovers of the extraction and you ferment that, then you will produce a spirit. As well, so if you think alcohol is called spirit. Spiritus, spirit, same kind of thing. Has a meaning to it, It's not always all very deep meanings. And then after that, when you've taken, you fermented, you get your alcohol, you have your essential oils, and then after that, you take the leftover plant, and then you have the mineral salts that is inside of the plant fibers that you need to get out. And then you need to burn the plant. So you take the plant and you burn it, and then you burn and you burn and you burn and you burn in a process called calcination. And when you burn it, this burning can take days. It can take a very long time to burn because you have to release all the carbon bonds and you have to release everything. And then you have a white, grayish, purified ash. And then you can, with water, you can extract out minerals from that, which is mostly potassium-derived minerals, like mostly potassium carbonate, but it can also be other trace minerals like magnesium, copper, calcium, all this kind of stuff, right? And then there's certain different types of minerals you can get out depending on how you do it. But if you just do it this way, the normal way, you will get out the minerals, mostly potassium carbonate. And then what you've done is that you purify the soul essential oils, and you purify the mind, which is alcohol, and then you purify the salts, and then you combine them together again. This is what you do in spagyrics. And this is basically the most subtle, most highest form of medicine you can make in this way, just to have the pure essential oils, the pure alcohol, and the pure salts. That's one way of doing spagyrics, because spagyrics has many different styles to it. But this is like the one that's the purest form of spagyrics in one sense to do it. If you have everything from the same plant and everything is most subtle of the same plant. And so what you've basically done is like you purified it, and when you combine them together, the base minerals, because minerals are very base, they have a high pH, they will actually start to convert and basically make things more base in the actual thing, and they create esters. You have an ester formation going on. So basically, if you just take the salts and you drop them in, over time, just by letting it age, it will happen by itself. But then you can speed it up, with a vacuum pressure. You can use ultrasonic vibrations. You can do different kind of stuff just to speed up the process, which we do a lot in the lab. So we try to facilitate and evolve things, help nature evolve, and then you can make things very much more powerful. But what we do as well is that depending on what kind of plant you use, because there's basically no right or wrong. It's actually just operator's preference. So if I want to make a spagyric of a herb, I might want to have other compounds that might be alkaloids, or that might be flavonoids, so other different compounds I want to have as well. Then I need to extract more other plants. So then I don't only want to extract the essential oils. I want maybe to be able to extract out different compounds. Then I can tincture a plant. I can do other types of extractions. I can make a double, triple, four times, quadruple extractions on a plant just to get out the most what I want of a plant. Depending on what style of product I want to make. So if I can make so many different styles, but there's no right or wrong. It's just basically what I want, and what I want to give to customers, to you, for example. I mean, you try the different products from mine, and they have sometimes different tastes, sometimes different characteristics, depending on what it is. Sometimes they're sweeter, sometimes they're really not so sweet, sometimes they're more bitter, but it can also be the same plant. So this is the basic thing as well. But if you make more of a tincture, if you take more compounds, you will have this kind of acid to base reaction. And basically the acid to base reaction basically converts different organic acids and make them more base. So they may become, easy, like an ester formation, almost like a soap-like compound. And this compound, which happens, which is like basically it's converted to, it's much more bioavailable for the body. So what you do is basically you actually create more bioavailability, so that you raise the frequency of the plant, and it's going to be easier for us to digest and actually absorb the nutrients and the medicinal properties of the plant. And what you can see is that I've seen some studies where they basically claim that, okay, if you take in essential oil, or just a normal plant compound, you might only have an effect of maybe 3-4 hours in the body of medicinal effect. But if you will combine it with a carrier, say that alcohol is a carrier, you can have MCT oil as a carrier, then you might have maybe 12 hours effect in the body. But if you add also the salts, right, then you will have up to 72 hours of effect in the body. That's how long and how deep, much more deeper effect the spagyric process will give you when you ingest these kind of products. And also the minerals, right, will also act as electrolytes. And because you will have certain compounds and so on, they will fuse together with the minerals. And you have in your body something called a sodium-potassium channel. And the sodium-potassium channel wants to draw to itself these minerals, because the body wants minerals. And when you have all these compounds that are fused together with these minerals, they will hitchhike straight into the cell. And then you have
driver then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is what and this has been used for a very long time. I would say thousands of years it's been used. It's a very old practice of making things much better for us, medicinal for us, and it also basically it works on all levels. It works on the spiritual, it works on the physical, and on the mental. So all levels of your being, it will work on simultaneously.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest thing I think when I started taking your spagyric CBD oil. I noticed like it has a much more profound effect, and a very, very different effect also. And I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and you get a very good explanation on why we have this effect. It's basically because you unify all the parts of the plants.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a simple explanation, maybe you take all the parts, you use all the parts, and you like, so basically you get all the essence of the plant, not only normally you only do a tincture, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting stuff. So what are your favorite herbs you like to work with?
I mean, I like, ashwagandha, for example, is one of my favorites. I use a lot. Ashwagandha, turmeric is one of the things. I'm also very into all the mushrooms, like lion's mane and chaga, reishi, cordyceps. That's one of my favorites. I also want to start to growing, and now recently I made a spagyric, which you tried as well. It was very nice. It was a very, very, very nice one. Even if, I don't have sometimes I only do like, very, very small batches. And sometimes there's only like, say 50 bottles, and then it's going to be like per year, because there's no, you cannot do more because there's only like a limitation to things. So sometimes the products can be quite expensive because they're very much handmade and they're very much small batches and so on, but they are very, very profound, as you said. And also, like, I mean, what I like more, I like pine pollen. It's one of my favorites as well. So that's one of my herbs. And what else do I have? Like, see, I have also like cacao. That's a nice one as well. But I think, I try to use different herbs in different ways. Also, like, I cycle them. Sometimes I take a lot of ashwagandha, and then I don't take ashwagandha for a month, and then I take a lot of turmeric, and then I kind of just cycle them a little bit and see what I need day-to-day basis. So what's your favorite?
Yeah, right now I like ashwagandha a lot because we all live in a stressful environment. We have a lot of stuff to do, and I mean, it's a perfect balancer. It's good in the evening to calm down, but it also makes you energized during the day, and also I feel much more less stressed when I take it. So I mean, I think this is the perfect tincture for the modern human. There's a lot of stress everywhere that affects us, and we are always multitasking and everything. So I mean, I think it's quite logical to try to use those kind of herbs to get more into balance.
Definitely. No, definitely. I mean, you as well, you have a lot of your customers, who like the products as well, and I always try it, because I think that the biohacking community, they're very much into all this kind of stuff, really. I mean, that's what you see.
Yeah, I would say alchemists were the first biohackers almost.
Yeah.
I would many of them die, so were like the canaries in the coal mine.
Yeah.
Original ones.
I mean, you see a lot of famous names were alchemists and so on, but it's like there's a lot of like secrecy in alchemy as well, because I mean, I would say that this it's like a lot of people they say alchemy is like you have to turn lead into gold and so on, and that's one aspect to it. I would say some people believe it's true, some people believe it's not true, whatever. But I think that also, I think that it's such much more of a spiritual thing to it. I think in one sense, and it's basically, like you do your inner work and you do the outer work. So basically, if I do my inner work, I can reflect it in my lab work. I can see it in my lab work, what's going on. And I also like test it, it's like I try to test and see, okay, if I read something, I can read it, but it doesn't really mean anything. I can understand in my mind. But if I basically practice it, I can see how that relates into the physical. I can try it out and test it for myself, and then through experience, I can say, yes, this is right. This is actually true, or this is not true. Like, for example, if I like this, I can make a oil out of anything, right? Because the fundamental principle of the soul says that everything in the universe, could produce an oil, right? But then you have these things like, okay, certain plants don't really have oils in that, like a mushroom that doesn't really have an oil. So how do you basically get out a oil from a mushroom, or how do you get out oil from a metal, for example? But then you have to apply different methods that you learn in alchemy. You have to basically create your own, alchemical solvents, and then you have to understand, the code of nature and so everything else. And all of a sudden, boom, you have a mushroom oil, or you have a metallic oil, and so on and so on. And then, then you say, okay, this actually works. I can create an oil out of everything. Then I understand this fundamental principle is true. This thesis actually works in practice. it's actually true. And there's like an old saying, say like, take no man's word. Like, even if I'm saying it, don't take my word for it. It's only my experience. I only speak from my experience, what I have done. It doesn't mean it's true or not true. It's just true for me because I can see it's working. But everybody should see for themselves. Everybody should do their own research and their own things, and so on and so on. And of course, you should also like listen to people who are good in their field, but don't take their word for it. Doesn't mean it's that's the way it is. What I would say. So I mean, it's also like in the biohacking community. I think that there's many different things you can do in biohacking. I mean, and sometimes you just have to try it out for yourself and see how it works.
Of course. That's what it is. But it's quite amazing. You introduced me to these metallic oils. I wasn't even aware of that. Mm-hmm. And I remember you introduced me to like the oil of gold and tried it. It's amazing stuff, but almost nobody knows about this. It's quite hidden knowledge. And I mean, alchemy, like you say, it's always think about turning lead into gold, but there's a big medicinal aspect of it, and it's so I mean it's very interesting field, and I mean I don't think we even would have alchemy more than chemistry if there wasn't alchemy, right?
No, for sure, definitely. I mean, and also now if you look at it, it's like the chemistry. I mean, chemistry and alchemy, they go together. Like chemistry is inside of alchemy. It's just that it's just different branches in one way, And I mean, I use chemistry a lot, in what I do to see, because I have to have a kind of a language to work with, And it's like in the modern era now, I have everything I need in my fingertips. I can I can search for everything. I can look at all the scientific papers and so on, and then I can discern and see what I need to use in my practice, right? But I can also like buy things that you cannot do in the ancient days. In ancient days, they had to do everything themselves. They had to create everything themselves, all the chemicals, everything that had to create themselves. I can just basically buy whatever chemical I need. If I need to have a chemical for a certain reaction, I can just buy it. I don't have to make it myself. So, I mean, in one way, this is the perfect time to practice alchemy because you have everything at your fingertips. That's it.
All the knowledge is out there somewhere online.
Exactly.
So what would you recommend? Like I mean, people should. I think people should try your products. And I mean, we have ashwagandha for stress.
Yeah.
So what do you have more, and what can you recommend? What is your favorite? Tell me a little bit specific about this different stuff you have and what they are good for.
Right. So I mean, what I'm doing now, so we have two different sides at the moment. We have the herbal side, which is quite developed in my practice at the moment. And then I'm just now going to release this year. It's going to be a lot of metal alchemy, right? And the metal alchemy is a little bit different size. We can go into that a little bit later. But if you look at the herbal side, right? For me, what I'm trying to put a lot of effort in is basically the mushrooms. So the mushrooms are going to be something very big this year. I made a few, but it's going to be something I want to put a lot of focus in. And then, basically it's going to be like, what I want to try to do is like, I want to have a few adaptogenic herbs. Like, for example, you have rhodiola, rosenrot in Swedish. You have ashwagandha that we already have now. And you have different adaptogenic herbs. You have astragalus as well. It's one of them I'm going to do as well. And then these things, are very good for, just, strengthening yourself, strengthening, balancing yourself. Also, for example, hemp is one really good one as well for balancing yourself. So this is one side of the coin. But then you also have the stimulative sides. You have like guarana, cacao, all this kind of stuff. Depending on what you want. Do you want to stimulate yourself? Do you want to have more like, okay, I want to balance myself? Or do you want to just maybe just relax? You may say like the spagyric one I did now is more for relaxing. It's more relaxing, more basically for maybe for lucid dreaming, more for deep thoughts, meditation, all this kind of stuff. So I think that there's something for everybody in my product range, and I think that for me it's been the hardest part, because I've been working a lot, with companies. So I've been developing stuff for companies. For me, my own brand, I don't have had so much time to develop my own brand, which is coming more and more this year. and also like through you, Daniel, because you have your network of people. So, I mean, I want to also get feedback from people and, you know, what they think about the products, what they, you know, what they want, and so on and so on. But I think that, you know, you should definitely ask yourself, okay, what do I want? Do I want to have a stimulative effect? Do I want to add an adaptogenic effect? Do I want something for the brain, something for the liver, something for that, and so on and so on. And I think that, for example, when you like the mushrooms are so interesting because there's so many, you know, like lion's mane, you know, it's like a wonderful nootropic, you know. There's like there's horsetail, there's cordyceps, there's chaga, reishi. I mean, I think that those ones are really up and coming. I think, you know, the mushrooms for sure. So I think that's going to be the big ones this year.
Yeah, mushrooms are huge. It's very fun to see that people are really getting into mushrooms. But then it's also, I mean, it's different what you buy. I mean, when I buy it from you, I know you have put a lot of work into it. I mean, there's a real quality product. And I mean, when something gets big, there's also a lot of junk on the market. It's really important to find the right stuff and the right people who make it with love, and not just making it to like make a business out of it. And I think that's what you're doing, and that's why you're so interesting. You're putting a lot of energy into this and how to really optimize the extraction and really get the premium product out there. As you say, it's small batches. Sometimes it's more costly, but I mean, it's really worth it. I mean, in the end of the day, what do you want? Do you want a Fiat or you want a Rolls Royce?
Yeah, exactly. It's just actually storming outside. So, you know, if you hear it, you know, it's
I have the storm here too. It's crazy.
It's really crazy. You know, it's like whatever name is it. Anyway, so this is, you know, the thing as well is that it's, you know, I think that for me, what I try to do is like I want to make the best kind of product. So I mean, I always source organic, of course. As much as sometimes you cannot source organic because basically it's maybe wild harvested and so on. But that's just good enough, you know, because you don't have to have an organic certification and everything, because if I go out and wild harvest something, I cannot say it's organic certified, but I know it's organic anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But basically just to source the best kind of, you know, raw material as possible. That's the main thing. And after that, basically also having the most, you know, the best extraction methods and so on. But then for me, it's an art, because, you know, sometimes, you know, there is always natural variances because certain plants might have more of certain active compounds sometimes they have less, and you cannot really predict that, you know. There's nothing you can do about it. But that's also like, and also like the style I'm using is like I'm always developing, so like sometimes it can be a different taste and different, you know, texture and so on the products. And I think that's, you know, also what it feels like. It's more organic. It's not like, you know, they have the same all the time. It's like a living kind of art, you know. And I like kind of the artist style of it, because I think that's much more like in a genuine expression of myself, you know. And like now, for example, what I've been trying to do, as I mean, maybe it's also you've seen as well, I've been playing a lot with, you know, getting a better taste, because I want to have a really good taste of the product, you know, like a smooth, nice taste, because I think it becomes much more pleasant if you have a nice taste. So as well, so that's
but it's like you said, because there have been very different batches, and it's really nice, you know. Like the last batch of the pine pollen is much more sweeter, you know. And in the beginning I was like, is this really pine pollen? But then you go, the taste is there, but I think it's really nice that the batches are different. And it also gives more like that is more like a handcraft artisanal work, and it also gives it an extra dimension, I think. That's really nice, you know.
Definitely. And then also, you know, because then you like you if you try my products, you can say, oh, I like this one, you know, well, what did you do? And then I can explain, oh, I did this and this and this, you know. And then maybe next time I did a different one, right? And then you have maybe a different experience. You're like, oh, what did you do this time? Oh, I did this and this and this. And then it's a more intimate relationship, you know, between me as the basically artist of, you know, making these things, and you as, you know, taking them, you know, because you can always ask me, oh, what did you do? Well, why was this like this? And I want to know. And, you know, and then also like, I mean, like me, I mean, I want to teach people how to do themselves, you know. I mean, it would be nice, you know, I want to hold maybe some alchemy courses here. I mean, we talked also about, you know, this guy, Kimia or Avery, he wants to come to Europe. So, and we might maybe do something here in Europe, you know, have some alchemy courses and so on. And I think there's a lot of interest for it, and a lot of people who wants to maybe get into it, you know, and understand more about it, you know.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I
Yeah,
would sign up for a workshop immediately. I mean,
yeah,
if,
it's really
even if I'm not gonna do it, it would be nice
yeah,
to at least know more about it.
yeah.
I mean, it's like forgotten knowledge almost. So I mean,
Mm,
we should not throw that away. 1,000 years of experience should
yeah,
be kept
definitely,
alive.
definitely. So and also like, if you go into more like the as we talked about before, the metallic side of it, because
Yeah.
that's something that's very interesting. Like as you said, there's not many people in Sweden know about the metallic side of alchemy.
Yeah.
And what you actually do is like because you think about hey, if you do metallic alchemy, you use metals. Yes, you do use metals, but the final product is actually an organic essence. So you actually what you do in one sense is that you synthesize an organic essence, but you use the metal as a catalyst for a synthesis. That's what you actually do. So in chemistry, this is called organic synthesis. That's what it's called. So there's a whole branch of this, right? We synthesize different materials. But in alchemy, you would say, like, the alchemists had one way of seeing it. They saw it in a different way. One says they saw, oh, we do this, and then we raise the frequency, and then we produce the soul, and that's all the mind and the spirit and so on of the actual thing. But what you actually do is that, in one sense, is that you cannot actually extract out like an oil from metal. It doesn't matter what you do. You cannot hammer it or put anything on it. It will not produce a oil. It's impossible, right? So what you do is that you see that, okay, the plants themselves or nature itself actually does synthesize all these kind of things, all these kind of compounds by itself, but they use metals and they use minerals to facilitate this. This is what they do. And then you said, okay, how can I do it? And then I have said, okay, you understand after going through the alchemy and so on that, okay, if I take a metal, I convert it into a mineral, and then you basically take it up to the realms, and then from the mineral realm you can convert it into a organic essence. And what you do is that you do different processes, right? And then basically you catalyze from the mineral a reaction, and it produces. And then basically what it happens is that it can kind of sound strange, but you actually rearrange the matter from nothing, in parentheses, and then you actually end up with an oil, right? And this oil is actually consumable after you have to, of course, you have to work with it, you have to purify it and so on, so it becomes, edible. But it's basically an organic compound that you are, creating. And this organic compound has the frequency or the archetype of that metal. So if you think about it, if you have a plant, right, and if you look at all humans, if you look at the chakra system of, which is all maybe similar to, you have the base chakra, sacral, solar plexus, you have the heart, you have the throat, you have the anya, you have the crown, and so on. And so we humans and all animals and also all plants have all chakras in their expression of how they work. But for example, we can express ourselves in a personality in different ways. Same as the plants. A plant can express itself to have more of a particular chakra frequency. So if you say, like, for example, say you look at the hemp, right? The hemp might have a Saturnian Venus, for example, if I'm not correct. I might be wrong here, but anyway. So it might have a Saturnian Venus quality. And the Saturn relates to the base chakra, and the Venus relates to the heart. So that then you can see that, okay, hemp might be good for ailments that has to do with the base chakra, with maybe all this kind of stuff, maybe security, all these, dependence of the mental or physical. So you can see that a plant has all chakras, but they can express themselves in certain ways, and then you can see that, okay, this is a particular plant has these particular qualities, and it might be good for this in your body or in your mental, in your mind, or in your soul. But if you look at the metals are much more direct. So that means that if you have a metal, for example, if you have lead will only correspond with the base chakra, which is the root chakra. So that means that if you catalyze and you make a metal of oil of lead, it has actually no lead in it, because the lead goes back into the original form, and then you have the organic essence that will just pinpoint that particular chakra. If you have, for example, the oil of gold, then it's the crown chakra. So that they will only pinpoint exactly only that chakra if you take the oil of gold that is made of the metal, right? So they're much more profound, much more direct, and much more, in one sense, much more medicinal than anything you ever tried. And this is what old alchemists used. They created these compounds, right?
Yeah, and very strong, I must say.
Yeah.
Very strong. So, I mean, you gave me some, what was it? Oil of potassium this Friday?
Yes, exactly. For you to try a little bit. One of my, the first one I've made here now is just to try a little bit. And these ones, some, I would say this, some of the oils, right, that you have, I would not, not all oils are for everybody, I would say. But I mean, the base ones is that one that I would think that you should, try. Like my friend in the States, he, sells all this kind of stuff, Kimia. And like me, myself, we're gonna basically start to develop all these kind of oils slowly this year. But they are very, very, they're very strong. They're very profound, and you only need like a drop, maybe a drop or two. You need so little for it, to give you the effect. So
yeah, it's really nice. But what kind of benefits could you see, for example, from taking oil of potassium, for example? What kind of benefits do you get from
potassium? Has more maybe a correspondence a bit to the heart, for example. So you basically have it's good for your heart. It may also be good for your blood, for example. So it depends, what kind of frequency it has. But they can also, sometimes it can have different effects on different people, because sometimes some people will have, like a very detoxing effect, because they need it because they need a lot of purification or purging or whatever. And some people, they don't get so much effect of it. It depends, and also where you are. But I think that the one of the ones that I think is the most profound is oil of gold. You tried oil of gold?
I tried it. I used it for I used 2 bottles. So that's maybe like 3 months, 4 months, 6 months or something. Yeah, it was really good. It's a bit hard to pinpoint what exactly happened, but it felt like it had some effect on my personality or something. I don't really know, but I felt the difference. I really felt the difference.
For example, with oil of gold, oil of gold has certain terpenes. I can't remember the name of it at the moment. And what they do, really, these compounds, what they do is like they basically scrub the cell. So basically, your cell has receptor sites on it, and these receptor sites can get clogged, right? Because basically you have all these toxins and all these things happening in your body, right? And when you take oil of gold, you basically scrub the cell, and then your cell basically becomes more receptive to input again, as it wasn't before. And that means that you actually can get rid of things, and you can actually clear things out of your system much easier on all levels. So that's one of the things I know, for example, with oil of gold, is basically opens you up, and basically it really helps you to like repair your DNA, for example. It goes really, really deep on your DNA. So that's easy.
I have to get more of that.
Yeah, I'll make some, later on. So don't worry.
I hope so. I really.
Yeah.
Yes. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So, how do people, if they want to contact you, if they're curious about you, how do they find you, where to contact you, and the name of the website?
Yeah, so at the moment we have one website that's up. It's called Malissas.se, which is me and my girlfriend, Isa. So we're doing our artistic work there. We don't have all the products up there. So basically the best way to do it is basically go into Malissas.se and then basically send us an email. That would be the best way to do it. We're doing some other different like collaborations. We are launching a different brand called Para Herbs, with another woman as well. As we launch now. So we have a different few avenues that we're going through. But if you want to contact us personally, then it's malissas.se with 2 S in the middle. And then you basically will find us, and then you can, if you get contacted with us, we can always like make different formulations, and you take inquiries if you have different kind of things that you want, because not everything is up on the webpage for sale, but we do have a lot of things in stock, depending on what you need. Basically, that's it. And also through Daniel. So if you want to contact me, you can also go through Daniel, because we have our collaboration as well. So that's yeah, that's good.
I will put the link in the show notes also, so people can go directly to the website, and I really recommend them checking out this stuff. It's really amazing stuff, and it's something out there. I mean, it's something really special. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it. So
yeah,
I really hope you can try this and try to learn a little bit more about this modern day alchemy. It's very interesting stuff. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.